country where we try to stop racism, instead we choose to have two national anthems, one for black people and one for all the other Americans.
In yesterday's video, I talked about the Super Bowl basically being a pander bowl. However, I only touched on this issue briefly, but I want to go ahead and talk about it now. And that right there, of course, is the song that has been coined the Black National Anthem. Lift up every voice and sing. Now, I already know that YouTube, they're going to come over here and they're probably going to put some limits on this video, but still at the same time, I think it needs to be discussed because now we've got actual members of Congress shaming people for not standing during the anthem, which of course there was obviously some blowback to this even at the game itself, as you guys obviously saw in the first 8 seconds of this video. One person reacted, somebody who quite frankly was not white, decided to react to it by simply saying this is the only country in the world that actually promotes racism. Basically, what he's trying to say is that we have the national anthem. It's one national anthem, and quite frankly, it covers everybody, which is exactly what I've been saying, or I said in the previous video. It's also what I got into a fight with on Twitter with a bunch of people who were in Pastor Daryl Scott's comment section, or they were in his little circle. Of course, this was just another attempt at trying to wokeify the Republican Party, and of course, you get diversity, equity, inclusion, all that stuff there. Now, the thing about Lift Up Every Voice and Sing is this here. It's really not a bad song, but therefore it should not be played at the Super Bowl. Now, I'll explain why that's the case. However, I'm also going to be explaining to you why it is that this song probably should have been worked in a long time ago if you wanted to use it, even though, quite frankly, I am not a fan of using it, especially at this moment in time, because it's pretty obvious right now it's being used to divide the nation, divide the audience, divide the crowd, divide sports as a whole. And the NFL has been used as a platform to help out when coming to dividing said nation, that right there being our nation, being the nation that everybody is under. Even though we have our own little differences and whatnot, we typically tend to hash those out. But recently, we haven't been able to. Don't worry, there'll be more videos in the future on that, not to mention something else too. There's also going to be a nice little segment at the end of the video, which is going to be kind of giving you guys a bit more information on how the week is going to go. I'm not going to be around on Thursday and Friday, and probably on Wednesday. It's going to be kind of hard. I'm hoping to get a couple of videos out that are kind of essay format, but let's just say it might not go the way I want it to go, but still, I may be able to squeeze in a video like this right on Friday, so make sure you guys stick around for the full video. So that Democrat congressman is Steve Cohen. Steve Cohen is a Democrat representative. He represents a district in Memphis, Tennessee. He was also a congressman who recently, like a year or so ago, caught some backlash for showing up to Congress with a bucket full of fried chicken. Wow. A white liberal Democrat who wants to race hustle by therefore using a stereotype that is quite common when we talk about black people. Who are the real racists again? I'm just asking, just for peace of mind. But this entire situation has actually been going on for a while. Now, the clip that I'm about to show you guys, this right here was from an NFL reporter, not at this past Super Bowl being Super Bowl 58, but Super Bowl 57, where the whole conversation of wokeifying the NFL was brought up once again.
Jim Trotter, NFL Media. You and other league officials have said that the league's commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion extend beyond the sidelines and beyond the front offices and is applied to all aspects of the company. I've worked at NFL Media for 5 years. During those 5 years, we have never had a black person in senior management in our newsroom. That's a problem because we cover a league who, according to league data, the player population is 60 to 70% black, which means that there is no one who looks like these players at the table when decisions are being made about how they are covered. More concerning is that for a year plus now, we have never had a full-time black employee on the news desk, which again is a problem because we cover a league whose player population is 60 to 70% black, according to league data. I asked you about these things last year, and what you told me is that the league had fallen short and you were going to review all of your policies and practices to try and improve this. And yet a year later, nothing has changed. James Baldwin once said that I can't believe what you say because I see what you do. And so I would ask you as an employee, when are we in the newsroom going to have a black person in senior management, and when will we have a full-time black employee on the news desk?
I don't know if this guy knows this or not, but roughly 70% of the league, like he said, is black. However, that 70% of the league is pretty well off. There is no country in the world that has produced more black millionaires than the United States, whether it be football, baseball, basketball, any sport, boxing, also overall entrepreneurship, music. I mean, it's the only place in the world that has black millionaires. There's no black millionaires in Africa. But yet, when Africans typically tend to come to the United States, they typically don't tend to complain about anything. If anything, they're actually pretty well-based. I advise you guys to have a conversation with anybody who's from Cameroon or Nigeria. I mean, it's just people, they come over here, they work hard, they get the American dream, they don't complain, they don't go on about racial politics or anything like that. But of course, here we are once again having this conversation, which quite frankly should not be had because, let's go ahead and be honest, I think Morgan Freeman nailed this a long time ago. Let me take you guys back.
Find ridiculous. Why? You're going to relegate my history to a month?
Oh, come on.
What do you do with yours? Which month is White History Month? No, well, come on, tell me.
Well, I'm Jewish.
Okay, which month is Jewish History Month?
There isn't one.
Oh, why not?
Yeah.
Do you want one?
No.
I don't either. I don't want a Black History Month. Black history is American history.
How are we going to get rid of racism?
Stop talking about it.
Great points, like always. But there's also something else, too, that needs to be said. Even though Morgan Freeman's kind of pulled back on that, he got it right the first time. The thing about Jewish History Month, the thing about white history, I don't really believe we should be doing this. I think that we should just be celebrating American history altogether. It just happens to be this man was black, just happens to be this man was Jewish, just happens to be this man was Italian. More Italian Americans fought for this country in World War II than any other ethnic group in the country. I mean, do we have to do... but basically what I'm trying to say is that every ethnicity that has lived and breathed in this country has obviously done some great things. What about Benavidez? This guy right here won a Medal of Honor, of course. He's not exactly what we call white. He's Hispanic. You've got a lot of great people who were inventors that weren't white, but you've also got a lot of people who did things. The fact of the matter is we shouldn't be relegating people's history to a month. Racism as a whole, especially this form of racism, this brand of racism that we're dealing with today, for the most part, is manufactured. Truth be told is, Morgan was correct. If you just simply stop talking about it, after a while, it goes away. It's almost like, what was it they used to say when, I hate to use a movie, but if you guys remember the Nightmare on Elm Street movies, then you'll probably remember there was a period in time where Freddy Krueger wasn't relevant. Well, people stopped talking about it. People stopped talking about racism for the most part. It went away. That's basically what we're trying to say. If you just stop talking about the crap, then guess what? People after a while will just get along, and chances are they'll probably just see color a lot less. That's basically the point. But yet we still got people out here talking about themselves as if to say they're still slaves. Slavery ended back in 1865. Jim Crow, for the most part, ended in the early 20th century. It was still going around, obviously, going into the Civil Rights Act. But ever since then, it seemed like racial tensions in the United States had kind of cooled off. Everybody was kind of working together. Everybody was going to school one another. Everybody was kind of playing one another. Everybody was doing things together. But of course, ever since about, and I would argue that it was before 2020, I would argue that it really got bad when Obama was in office because he was constantly droning on about it in some way or another, whether it be some form of snarkiness or some bad comment or something very stupid that was said. And of course, if you criticize the Obama administration in any way, you got labeled as racist. They just did that anyway. It's just kind of how it is. It kind of goes back to the feminization of men. Now, let me go ahead and say this about the feminization of men. You need to be able to criticize one another so that way you can learn and you can grow. It used to be back in the day that we would throw insults on women. By the way, we still do this. Of course, stuff like, kind of like what Judge Joe Brown said a long time ago. It was like, man, while you was asleep, man, you didn't notice, but I was over at your house and I was in the bed with you. Yeah, that's just kind of the game that we would run as kids. I mean, I kind of talked about this in a video yesterday that was released earlier that I had really worked on Sunday about Bob Costas and taking insults. After a while, you just get kind of used to it. It rolls off of you, and you learn to give it back. It's just the way things are. You can't grow as a person if you don't actually get criticized. Trust me, if you put yourself on this platform every day like I do, you're going to get some negative comments in the comment section. Even though this channel is still small, of course, it's growing, thanks to you guys, that obviously you're going to get criticism at some point in time, so you better go ahead and get used to accepting it. Sometimes you get things wrong. Sometimes you make the perfect video, it doesn't get recognized, and sometimes the video of which you got the most amount of wrong stuff is actually the one that gets you 5,000 or 6,000 or possibly even more views. You got to throw yourself out there. I mean, it's just the way that it is. You got to learn to be criticized, which is kind of the problem that we're seeing today, where people don't want to be criticized, but still we see this separation. And of course, there are some people out there who have obviously seen it and taken note.
It's a moment in America where our nation should come together over its love for competition and sportsmanship, where the competitive spirit and the determination of the two best teams in football should unify us all. America has another unifier. It's national anthem. It's one song that every American knows and can sing under one flag. The U.S. national anthem is not a white national anthem. It's not a black national anthem. It's not a national anthem for any race. It is a national anthem for everyone, regardless of race. Lift every voice and sing, otherwise known as the Black National Anthem, is not an anthem for which Americans sing under one flag. It is an anthem created for one race and one race only. Playing it at the Super Bowl epitomizes attempts to divide the nation at its core by race. I'm Armstrong Williams, live.
It's one national anthem. One national anthem. It covers us all. It covers everybody. Now, I mentioned earlier that there was a proper way to actually incorporate this. Maybe what should have happened is that it should have been incorporated back in like the 60s or the 70s or maybe a long time. I mean, I know there are people out there saying that, well, it was actually written and it was actually posted in 1919 and it's been around for over 100 years now. And the national anthem didn't actually become the real national anthem until 1931. But the thing is this right here. There's obviously reason why, because obviously the national anthem was chosen, but people forget it was Francis Scott Key who wrote the national anthem during the War of 1812. I think it was Fort McKinley, Fort McHenry. I can't exactly remember. I oftentimes get Fort McHenry and Fort William Henry mixed up. I apologize for that. I'm also a bit of a military history buff. I still get things screwed up from time to time. That's what I'm saying. When you get things wrong, you need to be willing to actually accept the consequences or accept the criticism. And you may not like it, but you kind of need to have to accept it, which is kind of what's been going on. A deep, hardcore feminization of men. And this is where it kind of goes to the whole thing of, well, you know what, I don't like that national anthem. I don't feel included under that national anthem, so we're just going to use this one over here. The truth be told about the song Lift Up Every Voice and Sing is that a lot of people did not know about said anthem or said song, which of course they're calling an anthem, which of course there are many of them out there who say that it's actually a hymn. The thing is this right here, it didn't really get any real prominence again until recently. Well, why would that be the case? Well, they started doing this right around the time of George Floyd. That right there is the real reason why it is that they chose to bring this entire thing up. Kind of sad, too, because it feels like if people had actually known about it before, then it probably wouldn't be an issue. My issue has been the fact that it's the timing of this entire situation that's pretty daggone bad. Now that you guys have obviously seen a monologue, you can obviously see that it's not just white people who are calling out, it's also people of color, black people who are calling out, too. One more thing needs to be said. They're calling it a hymn, or they're saying that it's a hymn. Okay, then why not just call it a hymn rather than call it an anthem? I mean, it's a little bit confusing. So please forgive everybody for, let's just say, not exactly responding well to the song being played. Now, granted, it was not actually played in tandem with the national anthem, of course, America the Beautiful, which was performed by Post Malone. And I'm not going to lie to you guys, I couldn't hear anything that he was saying. Maybe the voice was just low. Maybe his PA system was off. I really and truly don't know. I just couldn't really hear him. And I don't have anything against Post Malone at all. But America the Beautiful has also been a song that, quite frankly, if you guys have ever paid attention to any previous events, and by the way, I'm showing you guys some clips. One of these clips, of course, includes Whitney Houston's rendition of the national anthem, which many people believe to be the actual greatest rendition ever sung at a sporting event. This right here, of course, was Super Bowl 25. It was the Super Bowl between the Buffalo Bills and the New York Giants. This is the famous Greg Norwood wide right game. However, if I remember correctly, as a kid, I remember WrestleMania 10. Yes, I'm going in the direction of wrestling. The WWE used to, I don't know if they still do, I haven't really watched the WWE in a long time, they used to do the national anthem or America the Beautiful before pay-per-view events. One of those, of course, included James Brown doing America the Beautiful. Typically, what they would do is they would have someone who was black sing America the Beautiful, and then typically somebody who was either Hispanic, white, or possibly black, it didn't matter what the race was, would typically then turn right back around and sing the national anthem. Now, the thing about the politics of the entire issue is that you probably got to ask yourself a question. Well, why did they not incorporate this a long time ago? I have no idea why. I think that what's happened is that the mainstream media now suddenly wants to use it. The Democratic Party suddenly wants to use it to help divide the nation further. You see, the thing is this right here. We are already a united nation. Go talk to somebody down the road about any type of issue. Chances are you're probably not going to hear anything racist at all. You're probably not going to hear any politics at all. People oftentimes love to cheer and party with one another and have conversations, and we typically tend to work things out even though we don't always vote the same way. It's the timing of this entire ordeal that, quite frankly, makes this entire situation look a lot more political than it should. And obviously, these people did not get the memo, and the memo that they obviously did not get is that you're already Americans. You are already with the United States. You are already under our banner. You're not a slave no more. You haven't been a slave since the 1860s. And also something else too needs to be said. While we're on the topic of that, I don't hear the Irish complaining, seeing how it was that they were brought over with black slaves as indentured servants, and they went through some pretty rough stuff too. I just figured I'd point that out, that the Irish never seem to complain. And of course, the only people who really and truly complain about the stuff that I've been talking about are those in the media. You know, it's really funny too, because I remember when Kaepernick had that little Netflix piece where he was basically saying that they poke you and they prod you in the NFL Combine, even though obviously he was a quarterback and he went through the Combine. Apparently, he got inspected too, how dumb and how stupid the documentary was. And of course, to go on top of this, you have to also think about the fact that this supposed national anthem these people have also diminishes those who lost their lives in combat. Yeah, you see, somebody put up a tweet, and I looked at this, and I was like, wow, this right here is actually an extremely good point. By the way, I'm not above using somebody to say, he made a hell of a damn good point right then. What about all those men and women who fought for this country that, quite frankly, aren't white, who died in service? I mean, I'm showing you guys a photo of the Vietnam Memorial, only a piece of it, the main piece, because if you go to Washington, D.C., and you actually physically see the Vietnam Memorial, you'll probably know that, of course, there's the statue that I just showed you, which is actually of a white man, a Hispanic man, and a black man all working together, because it was really the first time we really and truly actually incorporated the entire military, all races, even though some will say it was probably really World War II, but we still have segregated units of World War II in Korea. Still, though, the thing is this right here. That memorial is special for a multitude of reasons. People obviously don't talk at that memorial. You walk down the steps, there's a reflection pond. Of course, there's the wall with all the names on all those who lost their lives during that war. Not a popular war, by the way. It's one of the main reasons why it is people stay quiet. The fact of the matter is this right here. You're actually disenfranchising the black men and women who served this nation and died in service to this nation when you play said national anthem, which quite frankly is not even a national anthem. Maybe what you should have done is, like I said before, maybe you should have incorporated it in a long time ago to go along with America the Beautiful. It's possible that some people think that that's what they're trying to do right now, but that's obviously not the case. Seeing how as you got politicians complaining about people not standing for it, it seems to me like this entire thing is being used once again as a political tool designed to divide the nation. And that right there is the real truth about the Black National Anthem. It's not the anthem itself. It's actually the use of the national anthem at this moment in time and the timing of it all that's actually causing all the division. But there was a congressman on the Republican side of the aisle who, by the way, is also black, who also made a very good point about this as well about a week or two ago.
The Eagles at the Louisiana Superdome, 1981. A couple of things about the game this weekend. First off, the Black National Anthem is going to be played before the game. I want to first get your thoughts on that. This is a departure for the NFL.
No, it's not a departure for the NFL. NFL for quite a while now has been trying to divide us. There's the same group that allowed demonstrations on the sideline and people to kneel when the flag was flying. So, no, this is typical of Goodell. He's a leftist, and he wanted to divide us. And the bottom line is this. We have one national anthem. We have one country we're fighting for. My dad was a World War II vet, and I was raised to be proud of that flag. I was raised to know that meritocracy is what my country comes down to. And that's what the NFL and military used to stand for. Meritocracy, coming together. I was the third black American to get a scholarship at the University of Miami. When I left the NFL in 1983, nobody was counting because we'd gotten past that. We cared about the fact of winning, and we became brothers. That's what our country is all about. We the people did not care about this mess. So do not allow the NFL, I mean, they're getting a lot of money right now. Understand, Goodell is a leftist. NFL now wants to divide us, not bring us together. And there's one national anthem, which we all should be standing for and be proud of, put our hands over our hearts. And in my days, I used to get teary-eyed because I realized this country allows me to stand here, live my dream, and there's no other country like it in the world. So, no, let's get back.
By the way, Burgess Owens, that Super Bowl he played in as a member of the Raiders, That was the Super Bowl in which the hostages during the Iranian crisis, the Iranian hostage crisis, that was the Super Bowl of which, by the way, that they actually attended or they came home roughly right around the same day. Yeah. You see, the thing about the national anthem is, like I said before, it covers us all. It doesn't just cover one race. And I think all these attempts to try to say that it only covers one race or everybody but black people, I think is completely disingenuous. And quite frankly, it needs to stop. The only thing you're doing is just dividing the nation. That's really and truly all you're doing. But think about something else, too. How stupid have you got to be to play this at the Super Bowl at this moment in time? How dumb have you got to be to do this, knowing that you've got millions of people watching, even though a lot of people kind of already knew who was going to win the game because it was almost like it was scripted. I don't know. How dumb have you got to be to do this? Well, it looks to me like it's intentional. You see, I've been hearing a lot of people talking about the whole Taylor Swift thing, been talking about this here, and I keep thinking to myself that the whole point of this is designed to make one side of the aisle look bad for complaining about it, even though it wasn't just MAGA who said something about it. It makes you wonder if there's not going to be an open, ardent backlash coming this year, but don't worry, we will get to that soon. Now, guys, that right there, for the most part, concludes this video here as far as the issue is concerned. However, there is something that I do need to tell you guys about the week. This week is going to be kind of a wonky week. I mentioned it in the previous video. I'm probably going to mention it in tomorrow in the other video I plan on releasing tomorrow, the video on Wednesday. You're probably going to see the essay portion. I'm trying to go ahead and try to start incorporating that now. The reason why is because the more videos I do, the less ability I am to actually get all the facts on everything. Like, for example, the previous video, I know there's at least 4 or 5 things that I missed. Of course, you see Travis Kelce basically shows up with the game looking like a chick and all this other stuff, like, for example, Ice Spice, which I don't think this is really, culturally appropriate, but still at the same time, it's like giving people role models. The reason why is because I obviously am going to need a little bit more time to get more facts on stuff. But the reason why this week right here is going to be so wonky is because I'm going to be at the VA. I'm going to be at the doctor on Thursday, pretty much the entire day, just getting some things taken care of. Small little health issue. The guy I actually take care of was actually a relatively big one, but still nothing I can't handle. So this week is obviously going to be a little bit wonkier than normal. I'm going to try to get a video out on Wednesday, one out on Thursday night, one out on Friday. If you don't get a video out on Thursday, chances are the reason why it didn't get out is probably due to the fact that I was there a little bit longer than I should have been. I've got to go a good 3 to 4 hours to actually get to the destination. I've actually got to spend the night there too, and then to get the next morning, then come back home. So it's obviously going to be a wonkier week, but still, though, I'm going to try to put out as much content as I can. The plan this year is to lower down to 1 video per month, 1 video per day. And then hopefully come next year, roughly 1 video per week that's actually relatively long. What I wanted to do is kind of work them in, the essays in like once every couple of weeks, deeper videos, that type of stuff there. Obviously, it'll be a lot longer. But don't worry, we'll get to that here soon. Just giving you guys a bit of a heads up how the week's going to go. With that right there being said, please make sure you guys hit the like button, subscribe. Please tell me what you think in the comment section. Also, the notifications bell. Please give me your thoughts. I'd love to hear it, and I'll see you guys later.